Hello and welcome from Dave M0OGY. Hope you're all doing well. Well, this last month it's been very hot. Yesterday was over 30 degrees and sadly the radio propagation has been very poor. So not shown much on YouTube. I think the last review I showed was a radio around 1 month ago. So not much coming through. There is one or two new radios that have been launched but not here yet, so I do have a couple of nice new ones to show you soon, and I've been waiting for this radio for quite a while. Now it is a classic radio, so I'll tell you what it is, and it certainly has something very special to be shown a little later in the video. So what we're looking at today is a President Jack, nicknamed Jack. It was the nickname of John F. Kennedy, so named after him, I'm assuming. Originally there was two versions of this radio. There was a 40 channel version and there was also an 80 channel version, an export radio, which this is. The export version covered originally 26.965 to 27.855 megahertz and created just standard power output of 4 watts AM FM and 12 watts single sideband. The main PCB in this radio is a Uniden PC893. The early versions of this radio was made in Taiwan, later made in the Philippines. This radio is actually a later version made in the Philippines, and I'm guessing, I can't find any exact details, but built between the mid 1980s and the very early 1990s. So what's so special about this, you may ask? Well, it is yet another DDS radio. So for those who don't know, DDS is an abbreviation for Direct Digital Synthesis. Easy for me to say. So that's what a DDS radio is. It's built, this one, it is a prototype by Chris DT307, who's very well known, and in conjunction with Graham of Microchipz, they're converting quite a few radios with new DDS features, and certainly in 2025 they have created some very special radios, circuit boards between themselves. One you may remember, one of my most popular videos of this year, in fact I think the second most popular video, was the Westland DDS radio, which I love to bits still. It's a regular radio set up all the time in the shack. So we'll have a look at this radio. It's got the DDS conversion fitted as the Cybernet radio had, but it's got a brand new screen. Again, I will say that it is a prototype. There is a few glitches. Chris is, as you probably all know him, he's very down to earth, says it how it is, and he's told me what's involved with this one. So it was converted onto a this radio, the Jack, which was probably not the most ideal radio for such a conversion, as it's very, you know, a very narrow bandwidth radio from the factory. So it has a few known faults, this radio, as it's a prototype. It doesn't get quite all the mid-band frequencies, this one. The specs are, it's running 4 watts FM. It's got 16 watts on single sideband. The specs are reading minus 110 dBm. It's also converted for 10 meters and the CB band on RX. What else has he put? Oh yeah, it needs a microphone plugging in, as all Unidens do, to receive. And if you want this conversion doing to your own radio, the parts, the screen's £60, and I think the modifications around £100. I will put in the comments below a link to Chris to show you what's available. And you know, to do all this conversion in one of these radios is a good 2 days work. Anyway, so what you've been waiting for, we'll have a look at it turned on. It's got it's quite knitted and nifty, this. So there you go. It's got a very big modern screen in it, showing you the frequency. Again, on the jack, it's you've got your mic gain. We got your mic and RF gain on twin pots. This is just standard President jack. Clarifier, which works on that. I'll show you that in a moment. You've got volume on, off and squelch. You've got your mode selection, and it'll scroll through on your channel change. It's got a different encoder in it, so it's like free rolling. It don't click like a normal channel change on one of these. And it's got a push button so you can get into things. So I'll show you a few of the features and look at the back of it as I normally do on the new radios and show you what it does. So let's see if we can get again, the camera, typical, it's the screen's flickering on the radio. It most definitely isn't. It's stable as anything. That's just the camera. So we'll show you what it does. So yeah, it's got the welcome screen as you turn it on. If you press this, obviously free rolling. Really nice and smooth. It does have a little indent as you roll it. It does sort of move around, but it's not like a click click sort of thing. So yeah, so if you're on the whatever frequency you want to be on, it's got a so if you move your clarifier, look, it'll move it in digits all the way around. So it's gone up to what, 60 max there, and down to 40. So then you've got your center slot. Yeah, so that's your clarifier working. So yeah, to get into it, you press the channel change. You're into UK FM, so it's got the dedicated UK frequencies, which we have, which is known as the UK 40 FM or the Muppets. So it just shows you the channel readout and your frequency away at the bottom. Nice and easy. So it just acts as a standard UK FM CB radio with actually 4 watts of output power. And then you move around, so it's free rolling. So once you get to the end of the channel, so you get to channel 40, flicks onto the 10 meter band. So you've got the 10 meter band. There's various ways where we're going downwards. There we go, look, we're move down the band. So it's sort of free rolling, it just moves up and down. You can also press that. That's your mid band. This prototype sadly doesn't have the full mid band on it, as it was quite interesting, as Chris said, to get this one to work. There is probably better radios to mod this, but again, as I said earlier, this is a prototype radio which Chris was working on, and he actually sent me it for evaluation. And later on, if there's any propagation ever again this year, I'll be using it and we'll see how it works on various bands. So yeah, quite a very smart thing, and I like the screen. If you can see this, this does have a manufactured little fascia into it, which Chris has done on his 3D printer. They can be supplied, obviously set back into the radio like this one is, or made flush, whichever your preference is. But I'm not too sure if you can get different colour displays. This is just a single colour of green, which I feel suits it quite well. Not bad colour, it's easy to see, certainly large enough, and I don't know if you can see the at the top it is hidden a bit, masked by the screen. You've got high, your channels, RX, TX, and it obviously it shows you what mode of operation you're in. Obviously USB at the moment, so it reads it across there, and then you've got your signal meter and RF meter across the bottom. So that's a look at the front panel, and we'll have a look at the rear of the radio and take the casings off then and see what the conversion entails inside. Be back in a moment. Welcome back. So this is a look at the rear panel of the jack. It's just standard, nothing modified here. You've got your antenna connector. You have got a pair of speakers. You've got an extension speaker. I guess the other's the PA. You've got the standard uniden stroke president 3-pin socket for your power lead, and there's just a riveted on plate stating the model, and it's made in the Philippines. So that's the rear panel. Very nice, well made radio from back in the day, plenty of weight to it. So we'll be back in a moment and have a look inside the radio. Welcome back. So took the bottom casing off the radio, and wow, the smell takes you back. These radios certainly have a smell from the period. I'm sure if you've had radios for over 40 years from back in the day, as I say, you'll know what I mean. Anyway, so looking inside, you've got the standard PCB which comes with a radio, which is the brown coloured one at the bottom. So that's your original retro part. And then moving across, that's the new part. There you go. So that's the new Microchipz DT307 PCB board. See, it just all plugs in. Chris always does a good job. I like to see plenty of nicely fitted cable ties, cut off neat. You know, you see some horrors inside vintage CB radios, you know, but there's certainly nothing like that in here. He always does a cracking job. Good guy for repairs as well. But yeah, that's the board, the additional board, the DDS board. So it's all built onto that, and then it all plugs in. So a neat job. The encoder's different. Obviously this is upside down now. Looks like a push button unit, so that'll all be different obviously, but yeah, it just sits in there. It's it makes some nice little proper brackets, so it, you know, it's not flying in the breeze. There's a lot of circuit boards there. You know, a lot of people who go inside radios who call themselves rig doctors, but I class this gentleman as a technician. He's doing it, you know, making the job right, innit? Anyway, so I'll be back with my conclusions in a moment. Welcome back to my conclusion of the President Jack DDS radio. As you saw on the startup screen, this is the version 4.1, so very latest version. These guys are always updating their circuit boards. They're at it all the time. It really is a labour of love for them. So what do I think of it? Well, it is a prototype and there is one or two little glitches, but nothing serious. I will be plugging it into my Vortex Quasar Q82 Mark II vertical antenna very shortly, and see how it performs. It's certainly very impressive with the new large screen. I do like that. There is, I guess, two camps. I am an avid radio collector, vintage radio collector, and I have quite a collection of original radios that are boxed, and I wouldn't personally do this conversion to a radio such as that myself. But if you've got a radio like this, which is a nice tidy one that's, you know, not boxed or anything, worth quite a lot of money, you know, a jack, they're not really desirable or anything in the great scheme of things. So what a way of getting a modern performing radio whilst the main circuit board performs as it did in the past. It's certainly, the DDS system makes it far more stable. It is easier to use. The display is a damn sight easier to read, and also you're not guessing where you are as you used to with the channels, you know, banks of 40, and having to guess and use a crib sheet and what have you. It does bring this up into the modern world. I personally would, you know, prefer this radio to some of the very cheap, low-end single sideband radios currently available. I do think it's, you know, for the cost, I mean, you're looking, if you supplied your own radio, the screen's about £60. I think to do the full conversion of the circuit board, it's about £160–50 to do the radio. And in this day and age, there's not many decent single sideband radios available at less than £150. I certainly would use this above, you know, the cheaper versions of modern radios under that price point. So, hope you enjoyed the video. It will be going on air soon, and thanks for watching. Have a good week. Best 73 from Dave, M0 OGY 26 Alpha Tango 025. Bye bye.